A question I'm always asked online is, where did my love for anime come from? Or what was my first anime? I've always considered Dragon Ball Z to be my first exposure to anime when I was a kid, as many people my age did, watching it on Cartoon Network, being disappointed that I couldn't create a Kamehameha just like everyone's Goku. Thinking back to my first ever experience with anime as a medium, it was actually a forgotten PS2 RPG that I stumbled across in my older cousin's collection. Between the GTAs and the Star Wars action figures, I saw a cover of a game that's artwork was immediately burnt into my memory. I begged my older cousin to lend me the game, to which he agreed unusually quick, which in hindsight I completely understand why that was. The game was Orphen, Scion of Sorcery. The cover was of an anime character charging up some sort of spell while fighting a weird flying monster in the background. Orphen, Scion of Sorcery is an action RPG that was based on the light novel series by Yoshinobu Akita, Sorcerer's Stabber Orphen. Released as one of the launch titles for the PS2 in the year 2000 in North America and Europe. It was released alongside games like Armored Core 2, Time Splitters, and Tekken Tag Tournament, so it's no wonder that Orphen slinked into obscurity, especially with its middling reviews from many major gaming forums. Honestly, with the sort of games it was up against, for many people on launch day it was like a game of Russian roulette. You could either end up with a classic like Time Splitters or Tekken, or you were like me as a kid, ending up with Orphen.
Oh, like I care what people think.
The game was developed by Shade, who also developed games such as ActRaiser, Illusions of Gaia, and lesser known titles like Grand Stream Saga. The game itself is a mixture of puzzle solving, platforming with real-time battles, but we'll go deeper into the gameplay mechanics later on. On starting the game, you're introduced to this gorgeous 90s anime opening that really blew 9-year-old me away back in the day. I was so hyped to play as this cool, unnamed spellcaster with a red bandana. I wanted to learn more about the characters, the monsters, and the story. The style and animation of the 90s anime aesthetic was so new to me, and I was so here for it. But enough reminiscing. I ain't 9 years old anymore. Let's see how this forgotten relic holds up today. The story of Orphen begins with an animation, with our hero, the main man himself, Orphen, joined by his two companions, Magnus and Cleo. As they're walking through generic anime sea town number 42, they're confronted by the comic relief, Vulcan and Dalton, to which they're welcomed with an explosion from our charming main character. Quick to the feet, Vulcan and Dalton look to pay off their debt to Orphen. What that debt is, we don't know. Maybe it's explained in the anime, but I'm not looking to watch a 50-episode show to find out. Vulcan says to Orphen and the gang to come with him to board a ship heading to Ivan Rama to work as a bodyguard for a merchant for easy cash. We then cut briefly to 3 other mysterious characters who are all boarding the same boat with our main cast. Now on the boat heading to what they believe to be Ivan Rama, we see Orphen trying to sleep through the storm.
Oh, man, I'm never gonna get any sleep. I sure hope this storm doesn't get any worse.
Moving on from Orphen, we come to Vulcan and Dalton, laughing about how they've tricked Orphen into joining them on this fabricated bodyguard plan, while wondering if they've even got on the right ship. The scene then joins a pink-haired woman, lamenting over her true love, a man called Rufus. We then move on to Magnus and Cleo, who aren't related as much as they look alike, but they're complaining like siblings do, about having to share a cabin when they're interrupted by a monster attack. Barging into Orphen's room, they tell him about the monster attack and decide it's the right move to escape the ship. Now, finally having control of Orphen, the game begins. Just as we leave Orphen's cabin, we see that large warrior from the opening cutscene, Spartan kicking his door clean apart, while trying to fight off the flying bugs surrounding him. The ceiling then collapses on the unnamed warrior and Orphen, in his infinite wisdom, exclaims,
"There's nothing we can do. Let's find a way out."
Yeah, good thinking, fella. Entering Cleo and Magnus's cabin, we get to see more about the relationship between our main trio. Cleo bitching,
This is all your fault!
Magnus being a bitch,
My fault? Why is it my fault?
Orphen telling him to knock it off. After which, we continue looking for a way to escape the ship. After collecting a few items from the chests we find, the ship begins to flood even faster. Luckily, the hallway that collapsed is now clear due to the flooding. Checking out the other rooms, we see the pink-haired woman escaping out the window. In the kitchen, we find Vulcan and Dalton, stealing as much as they can for the escape. A smart move in my book, well, at least it was smart until the wall is smashed in by our first enemy and first boss, a giant monstrous crab. This is a good chance to talk briefly about one of the major parts of Orphen, the battles. In Orphen, battles are scripted sections where you control one character, usually Orphen, and have the ability to use 3 different spells or pieces of equipment depending on which character you're controlling in the fight. You can also defend enemies' attacks by holding down the square button to bring up the shield. Although the battles look similar to most turn-based RPGs, it's actually played out in real time. But more on the combat later. After taking care of the enemy crustacean, it keels over, and its gross, crabby babies take a stab at trying to take you out. Hitting these with your AoE attacks takes care of the issue pretty quickly though. With the first real fight out of the way and a new spell in our arsenal, the trio make their way up the ship, again showing much more of the fun side of the sibling-esque relationship that obviously won't get annoying or tedious anytime soon.
We should take the door on the left!
Oh, and how do you know the left way is better?
Knock it off, you two!
Now on the deck of the ship, the fog starts to creep in and cover the ship, as well as more monsters. Unlike our crabby boss fight, these monsters can be taken care of pretty quickly with the use of Orphen's sword and projectile attacks. Exploring the deck of the ship, we can have a proper introduction with the rest of the cast of the game. We meet the Meg Zeus, a woman called Sephi, and a small child playing a flute just out of reach, called Ma. It's at this point we see one of the more interesting parts about Orphen. We're able to have any of these three new characters join our party. This leads into different paths and determines whose story you'll be playing through. I decided to have the Meg Zeus join the party, but no time for pleasantries as the ship is attacked by a huge sea monster. Another boss fight because the game ain't about to hold your hand for nothing. You wanted anime fights? I guess it's trying to deliver. After the sea snake is slain, it decides, nah, you're all coming with me. While the ship is being sucked into a whirlpool, we see a short animated scene of a mysterious figure stood in front of a large egg. It seems to show the image of Orphen. What could this mean? Mystery. We return back to Orphen, Zeus, and Cleo being teleported to an old ruin. Cleo tells us that we're on Anarchy Island.
Anarchy Island, huh?
Chaos Island.
Chaos Island. It turns out the ship was heading to Chaos Island all along. Not knowing where the rest of the passengers of the ship have gone, we begin to learn more about the reason our new member Zeus was travelling to Chaos Island in the first place. He's in search of his daughter. It's been 10 years since he's seen his daughter, and not knowing where she could be on the island, Cleo decides on Orphen's behalf to help Zeus find his long-lost daughter. Now making their way through the ruined tower, taking care of monsters as they go, the party comes across a library and a dead end. Luckily, we get more info on Chaos Island as Orphen reads a book about an item called the Crystal Egg, hidden somewhere on the island. The Crystal Egg apparently has the power to control time. Oh boy. Because time travel always leads to coherent plots, doesn't it? Zeus, being the absolute unit that he is, takes it upon himself to make a path for the party. More history about the island is learned, such as an entity called Gaia trying to learn about the human existence. Orphen, being his pessimistic self, blows it off his crap, but not without learning that they're in a tower called the Tower of Wisdom from another one of the books, and that there's a series of tunnels that lead all over the island. Oh god, tunnels. Sounds an awful lot like mazes and labyrinths to me. And who doesn't like a good maze in a video game? Zeus decides it's best for him to go on ahead. After defeating a few monsters, the other two join up with him and they make their way through some simple puzzles, which is another big part of Orphen's gameplay. After navigating through the rooms with statues, Cleo rushes on ahead, right into, you guessed it, more monsters. After the monsters are taken care of and more puzzling fun is had by the gang, they come to a flooded room. That's where Zeus deduces that since his daughter isn't in the Tower of Wisdom, that she might be in the centre of the island. Cleo offers to find a way out of the flooded room, to which we get our first helping of the platform sections in this game, which is about as fun and janky as it looks. Being able to jump 20 foot in the air looks ridiculous, but we'll talk a bit more about that later. Lowering the gate, and Cleo getting her flowers from Orphen.
Thanks.
That wasn't so hard, was it?
The team find themselves in the next area, the ship graveyard. While nervous at first, mainly from Cleo's side, the party decides to press on. Navigating through the destroyed ships without little issue, the group finds the ship's treasure. And in true haunted pirate ship fashion, it's a trap. Another quick battle and some DIY bridge building, thanks to Zeus, the party make their way to the end of the graveyard, but not without noticing something strange. A familiar statue on the front of the ship. As it turns out, this 100-year-old shipwreck was the very ship from the beginning of the game. Oh god, the joys of time travel. Without dwelling on this revelation too much, the group continue on to the centre of the island. Now entering the graveyard tomb, Zeus sees a shadowy figure off in the distance. Believing it to be his daughter, we see the ghostly figure walk into one of the tombs and learn, oh no, it belongs to his daughter, Azel. Oh well, that's it, sorry big fella, a few hundred years too late I guess. Entering Azel's tomb, we find a letter, a medallion, and a strange object. The letter reads,
She wrote, I pray that you will come someday.
So what's this then?
She says it is part of the crystal egg.
The one that's supposed to let you move through time?
Yes, that it can be activated by touching the inside of the shell. Azel must have known that I would come here someday, and left these here for me to find.
After reading the letter from Azel, Orphen uses this piece of the crystal egg to return everyone to the present. With Azel's tomb gone, it looks more than likely that Zeus's daughter may still be alive. Although Zeus, still obviously shaken just witnessing his young child's grave, he's nervous to get his hopes up. But don't worry, Orphen's always one to be the beacon of positivity and has some words for the grieving Merc.
Your daughter must still be alive?
There is no way to know.
Jeez, Mr. Optimistic. Anyway, let's get out of here.
Jesus, Orphen. Time and a place, fella. And yes, you are seeing the blue cats, and yes, it's meant to be blue. The textures haven't shit the bed, I promise. Here, I have proof from the anime. Okay, anyway, back to the story. Making his way, ever the leader, Orphen guides everyone throughout the crypt, avoiding traps on the way and slaying the beasties. The gang notice a building off in the distance, and decide to go check it out, hoping to find more survivors of the shipwreck. Entering a new spider-ridden cave,
I am not spider food!
They only eat sweet girls.
we come across our next big boss fight. Now this fight used to freak me out so much when I was younger, and it was the first real challenge of the playthrough for this review. Up until this point, the fights and many of the boss fights have been pretty straightforward. Just hit an enemy and block when it attacks. Simple. But this giant spider was the first fight that really employed a gimmick into its actual battle. So the spider shoots up these red barriers, and oblivious to me, I've just been spamming my most powerful spells at this point and not really bothering with Orphen's melee attack, the Sword of the Fallen Devil. I didn't think to myself, oh, maybe I should just cut the webs first, but when I figured it out, I got pretty excited about maybe they do have some fun with the combat and there will be some challenge. But by the time I figured it out, I got my slow ass kicked by in my first time round because I was already pretty low before I figured it out. But this is where you find out that a game over is really a game over, because I was sent right back to the title screen and had to reload while I saved. Anyway, round 2 with Itsy Bitsy it is. Knowing the gimmick now, I made pretty quick work of him thankfully. With the spider down and our new spell, we're treated to some more 90s anime goodness.
My daughter is gone. I've come too late.
Hey, I'm trying to eat here. Can you be depressed someplace else, okay? Ah!
How can you be so insensitive? Zeus, come on, cheer up. We don't even know for sure if it was her grave.
Even if it was her grave, we were in the future. Now that we're back, chances are she's still alive. So just stop your whining, Zeus, okay?
He isn't whining, Orphen. He's just really... Oh,
You want to find your daughter. We want to get off this wacky island. Look, you scratch our back and we'll scratch yours. Don't worry, we'll get out of this one way or another.
En route to the house the group saw, they come across an unknown woman struggling up ahead. The party run to see what's going on, to see a taller woman slap the taste out of the Grand's mouth and give it legs down the corridor with the crystal egg. We learn that the old woman named Jado knows of Azel, and that Zeus is her father. She also tells us that Azel was kidnapped by the woman who just escaped with the crystal egg, a scientist called Curious. Jado, being an absolute grass, tells us where we can find Curious in the underground tunnels, but unfortunately it's sealed off with a spell.
can't we get there from the basement of the Tower of Wisdom?
That was in the future, dummy. We're back in the present now.
Oh yeah, we were in the future. All this time travel stuff is so confusing.
Oh no, the game is becoming self-aware. Jado leaves and we finally meet a familiar face. Now back in control of Orphen, we make our way to the rest house to meet up with the rest of the survivors of the ship. After talking to Zeus, he and Orphen come up with a plan for their next move.
There's gotta be more than one entrance to the underground area.
Where, Master Orphen?
Remember? That book in the first tower said that there were tunnels underground linking the whole island together. It's just a hunch, but that should mean there's more than one entrance.
Indeed.
Interestingly, the game decides to offer you the choice to choose a new companion to add to your party. You can continue to help Zeus look for Azel, or you can speak to Sephi or Ma and help them with their journey instead. Pretty interesting that it gives you that option, I guess, but we can't let the big guy down. Look at him sulking over there. And Cleo feels the same way. So on to help Zeus, the team decide to go through the tunnels, with Magnus taking the place of Cleo. Whether that's an improvement, I guess we'll find out. We also meet one of the inhabitants of Chaos Island, Ronnie.
Hello.
She's just a kid.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Morphin.
Morphin? No, it's Orphen.
Orphen and the party learn that Ronnie can take them to the underground tunnels. Zeus also remarked that she's about the same age as his daughter would be.
She's just about your age.
Really? My age?
Travelling by boat, Ronnie tells the group that she works as a gravekeeper on the island.
I take care of the graves on this island.
Aren't you a little young to be a gravekeeper?
My mother and father are both buried there. I like to keep it looking nice.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ronnie.
Oh, bet you feel like a twat for that now, big lad. Ronnie then notices the pendant we found in Azel's tomb from the future.
Where did you find that?
Huh? Oh, this. It belongs to my daughter. Her name is Azel. Do you know her?
Azel?
You know her?
No. I just asked because it's so pretty.
I see.
Sorry.
I swear the voice acting in this game does me in sometimes. After some more platforming, puzzling, and battling fun, we arrive at the entrance to the underground labyrinth. Sending Ronnie on their way, the group enter to find a lab and a logbook belonging to Curious, talking about the cruel experiments that took place there, using 2 young girls as test subjects. Wait a minute, that's not Curious, that's Jado, and the little girl looks a lot like the Curious we know. Stumbling across a secret entrance, we finally make our way into the labyrinth. Now it is standard labyrinth affair, lots of rolling balls, pendulums, traps, that sort of shtick, nothing too bad. As the group comes to what seems to be the end of the labyrinth, they find Curious. Not wanting to give the gag up to us and Jado, she drops the group down a trapdoor. Each of the crew end up seeing doppelgangers of themselves. Orphen, putting it to the test, takes this chance to batter his party members. After Orphen gets the same treatment, they find the true enemy, and the next boss, the Shapeshifter. This boss is a complete ball ache, if I'm being honest. Hitting it whenever it takes the shape of one of the party hurts that party member, and a hell of a lot more than you hurt him. After a few deaths and a few more retries, I figured out that you actually need to reflect its projectiles back at it with one of your newly acquired spells. He turns into his true form. Only then can you let loose and put that annoying prick 10 feet under. With that headache out the way, the group gather themselves and decide to head back to Gaia's tomb. Cleo, pissed that she was left behind, has a go at everyone as usual.
Orphen! Magnus! What is going on here? I demand an explanation! Why did you guys leave me behind?
Zeus decides to go berserk and run off like a tool. But we get some more anime cutscenes from it, so I can't complain too much.
Going alone. Have to get her back.
Shield of fire!
Huh?
And that's why you can't afford to lose your cool.
Back at Rest House, once again, the team rests up and continues their journey. Cleo now back with the group. Ronnie offers to take us to the Tower of Wisdom. We then see what seems to be Curious being dragged under the sand into the tower. Battling through the sandy tower, we're able to confront Curious, along with the crystal egg. Zeus demanding to find out what happened to Azel. But before he can take a swing, Ronnie runs in the way. Curious ain't Curious, it's Azel. Turns out Azel and Ronnie were the ones who were kidnapped and experimented on. They're the 2 girls from the logs in the lab. Azel tried to save Ronnie by taking her place and letting Ronnie escape. But now, Azel ages 7 times faster than normal. Not ideal that like. Azel tells Ronnie not to blame herself, and Zeus begins to come to terms that Curious is Azel. But then, would you believe it? The true evil sorcerer Jado turns up and grabs the egg.
Old woman, if there's 2 things I hate, it's rich undertakers and old bats with funny ideas.
The hell does he mean about rich undertakers?
All my plans would have succeeded if not for you meddling strangers.
Anyway, after ripping off Scooby-Doo, Jado decides to go full off the deep end and destroy the island by destroying the crystal egg and throwing it into the volcano. In doing so, it will sink the entire island, and that's not ideal to be honest. So the group decide it's no time for family reunions and it's time to go after the old sorcerer. After reaching the summit of the volcano, Jado gives us some Mortal Kombat level writing.
No, it is not I, but you who will pay. No one can stop me now. Die, fools! Die!
And then summons the beast of the volcano. The boss really shows off a glaring issue with this fight and this game in general. The camera is hellish to deal with. You'll be getting ready to attack and get slapped out of nowhere by a tentacle. But other than getting cheap shotted by the bad camera, the fight isn't all that difficult. Zeus opens up the shell to show the weakness of the boss, and all you have to do after that is keep the claws that shield the boss dead long enough to hit the weakness. With the beast and Jado finally kicking the bucket, and thankfully everyone surviving, they return to Gaia's tomb to find Azel in trouble. Ronnie uses the crystal egg to save the rapidly aging Azel. She reverses time using the egg, and Zeus and Azel can finally have their long-awaited 10-year reunion.
Azel, all these years we've been apart, I feel like I've missed so much.
Daddy.
But now that I finally found you, what I really mean to say is, I love you. I love you very much.
Uh-huh. Bet you told him to say that, didn't you?
Jesus, Orphen is such a prick. Mate, it's been 10 years, give them that, let them have that. After that tearjerker, we finally leave Chaos Island. While leaving on the ship, we run into Vulcan and Dalton. Where they've been, I've got no clue and don't particularly care. Orphen then remembers his farewells to Zeus, having given him his family heirloom, a golden arrow. They then set sail off into the distance, safe in the knowledge they helped Zeus find his daughter, and they're free once more. The end. Well, maybe not, I guess. Okay, so someone that looks like Ronnie tells us that our destiny is unfulfilled, and that she is waiting for our return, imprisoned by the chains of eternity, before hitting us with the Princess Leia.
Orphen, you are my only hope.
After saving our game, we're hit with a message. Play again to fulfill your destiny. Oh god, it's gonna make me play through the other two paths, isn't it? Oh god, it's gonna make me play through it again.
What is this? Haven't I been here before? This is weird. Ah! Okay, so it's not a dream.
I honestly wish I was dreaming often. So yeah, we're now back on the ship from the start of the game. You guessed it. If you want the true ending, you've got to beat all three routes. Zeus, Sephi, and Mars story. I always hated this trope in games, but it's got to be done, I guess. Before dropping off to jumpstart the cycle once again, I grabbed this lonely chest, which just so happens to give you one of the best attacks in the game, I'll come to find. The Sword of Justice. I'll go deeper into spells later on, but anyway. Heading back onto the deck, we find that Zeus is no longer on the ship to join our party. Instead, we see Cleo trying to build a raft.
I'm making a raft so we can get off the boat.
As usual, thinking about yourself. Gonna make rafts for all of us?
You're one to talk. Fine, be that way. Don't expect to ride on my raft.
Yeah, you wish I'd ride on your raft.
Hey, yo, Orphen, mate, what do you mean by that?
My raft.
So, this time round, I decide to go with Sephi. Magnus, now revealing himself to be Captain Super Simp, asks Orphen to help protect Sephi, which he agrees to, not before taking the piss out of his student.
Master, we can't leave Sephi here alone. Let's take her with us.
Looks like you've got the hots for her.
And we see an old foe, the giant sea snake boss, is back for seconds. We make quick work of him, to which he fucks up the ship again. Cutscene plays, and the party find themselves back on Chaos Island, except this time in the abandoned pathways. The same questions are asked once again by the group, not knowing where they are. So it seems like Orphen doesn't remember anything from his previous journey with Zeus, or does anyone else for that matter. Strange. Deciding to get out of the rain, the group head for the large tower nearby. Unlucky for them, the drawbridge is up, with no signs of entering. Although Sephi notices ivy growing up by the side of the building, and offers to scale it to try and find a way of opening the drawbridge. Although worried about their new companion's safety, mainly from the Simp side, they agree to let her go. After a welcoming party, she's able to lower the drawbridge for Orphen and Magnus, left in the rain. She then jumps down from said drawbridge to meet them. Oh yeah, don't worry, she didn't break her legs or anything, she's a dancer. Orphen questioning the intentions of a dancer coming all the way to Chaos Island, he gets Sephi to admit the reason she's really here. She's here to pay respects to her fiancé who's died on the island. Orphen, always the sympathetic soul.
But could I possibly ask a favor of you before we go in there?
Maybe.
You will be handsomely compensated for your trouble.
Sorry, but I have to go find Cleo.
Wait! I can pay you in gold.
Oh!
Orphen continues to amaze me with how much of an arsehole he is. He agrees to help take Sephi to her fiancé's grave, now knowing that he's going to get paid for it. Entering the tower, Orphen decides to go on ahead, making his way through traps and more platforming sections. Whoever built these towers had a real eye for interior design. Who doesn't love a nice big gear in the middle of your yard, or just a load of lizardmen flexing on you? Magnus and Sephi then catch up with Orphen while he's fighting the said lizardmen. After they're taken care of, Orphen calls Magnus a bitch once again.
Master, I knew you could do it.
Yeah, okay, that's enough brown nosing for today.
And we make our way to the top of the tower and find yet another piece of the crystal egg. Or at least a piece of the egg for the first time in this playthrough. Sephi already seems to have some knowledge about the egg. Through her fiancé Rufus, he told her about its ability to control time before he died. Now using the egg to travel back to their original time again, the rain outside has stopped, thankfully, and the path outside being fixed, the group decide to head over to where Rufus' grave would be, at the centre of the island. Where have we heard this before? En route, Orphen happens to step on a piece of the crystal egg, and sends the group to another time. But this time it's freezing cold and covered with ice. Deciding it's better to go on up ahead to find a way out of their predicament, Orphen goes on again. Now I haven't mentioned it yet, but you can probably tell from the gameplay, but this game's movement is rough. Everything feels slow and clunky, and now with the ice you're thrown around at insane speeds trying not to get hit by the spikes. It's a losing battle. Oh, and with as easy as it is to get hit by these things, it's just as easy to get stun locked. And if that happens, I hope you've enjoyed seeing the title screen, because you're going to be seeing a lot more of it. After making it to what seems like the exit of the frozen hell, the party reunites with Orphen as he steps on another piece of the crystal egg. Thrown into another time, the icy wastes have now been taken over by a thick fog. This time jumping gimmick getting old for anyone else. With seemingly no way to progress, Sephi offers to find a way out by climbing some nearby vines. And oh joys, more platforming, using these definitely well crafted and well suited platforming controls. After hitting the switch, we finally open up a path to take us further into the island. Continuing down the path, Magnus decides to ask Sephi about her fiancé Rufus. Like a true simp, stalking out the competition. Gotta rate the commitment. Continuing into the island, they come across a statue that comes alive, giving the group a riddle before he lets them continue. Having no clue what the answer could be, they try heading back before they run into Vulcan and Dalton. Chasing after the comedy relief, we find out that the answer to the riddle is mirror. How Dalton heard the riddle from all the way up there, I've got no idea. We hit the talking head with the answer and he opens up the path for us. More battles and traps ahead of us, but nothing we can't handle. They reach the centre of the island, but not without Orphen sensing danger, leaving the other two behind to run on ahead to meet our next boss, the giant Minotaur. Pretty simple bosses so far, just don't let it push it all the way back and hit him with a sword to send him flying back. It's just about timing really, which is pretty easy to get down once you get used to it. With the bull now without horns, we're able to continue onwards.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Look out!
I knew that I was right about this place.
Is that all you have to say?
Magnus! Are you alright?
Yeah.
Orphen looks so disgusted here, oh my days. And here we are, back at Gaia's tomb. We finally meet up with Cleo. Great. After the reunion, we head to the rest house. You see the routine starting to form here. Sephi then decides she wants to go on by herself, but Orphen, while reluctant to let a paying job go, lets her leave the party for now. Talking to everyone else in the rest house, it becomes clear that Orphen has no clue who Zeus is, so he really doesn't remember anything from his journey with Zeus to find his daughter. Bit of a missed opportunity if you ask me to have the stories interconnect, but I guess it makes sense not to complicate things. While heading back into Gaia's tomb, we see Cleo moaning about Sephi, and also, what the fuck, it's that old Jado again? But the blue cat thing, who's called Lucy apparently, sees her and brings her out of the shadows. She shouts about not letting some woman get away with it, whatever that means, and then runs away. Not thinking much about it right now, Orphen meets up with Sephi again, looking to see the job through, for honourable reasons only. Nah, I'm lying. He's just looking to make sure he gets paid. And honestly, I don't blame the guy at this point. Magnus then joins up again, overjoyed, because of course the simp would be.
All right! Back together again with Sephi. And don't pretend you aren't happy about it either.
Hey, this isn't about being happy.
I honestly see why Orphen bullies him. Not long after leaving Gaia's tomb, the group fall into a trap laid by Jado, to which she then asks the three about the whereabouts of their granddaughter. Nothing about a granddaughter from Zeus's playthrough, that's strange. I think she was a scientist? What the hell? Well anyway, after she leaves, from finding out the group know nothing about her granddaughter, it's time to find a way out of the prison. Jumping on a loose part of the prison floor, Magnus finds a way to a secret passage. We really went lying when they said this island was full of tunnels. Following the secret passage, the group manages to escape and find themselves in the roof of Gaia's tomb. Leaving the roof, through a hollow wall, we come across Cleo, for fuck's sake, and Jado, descending deeper into the tomb. Cleo tells the three that Jado isn't actually that bad, her eyesight just isn't too good, and that she thought that we were someone else. Oh, whoopsie daisy, I guess. Just let them rot in a cage because she wasn't wearing her glasses. Totally understandable. Cleo tells the always charitable sorcerer that we should help the Grand find a granddaughter because of the monster, to which Orphen hits her with an absolute zinger.
Hey, I'm risking my life here. This place is crawling with monsters. What would happen if one found me?
He'd turn to stone.
Orphen, I support the Cleo slander. Cleo then shooting off after Jado, we go our separate ways once again, descending deeper into the underground labyrinth. After more monsters, more traps, the usual things we've seen so far, we reach the bottom, where we're greeted with, you guessed it, more traps. The sounds of these pendulums swinging haunts my dreams, I swear. While delving deeper into the labyrinth, we hear a scream. It sounds an awful lot like Ronnie from Zeus's playthrough. Sephi, deciding to be a bad bitch, darts off ahead to save the young guy, who does actually turn out to be Ronnie. After getting rid of some monsters, Ronnie thanks us for saving him. The group then finds out that she's the daughter of Jado. What? And that Curious used Ronnie in some sort of time experiments that accelerate her aging. Wait a minute. That makes no sense. From what we've learned before, Jado was the one doing the experiments. At this point I was so confused, but then Ronnie, while explaining that she's in fact 10 years old, often says the most out-of-pocket shit I've heard so far.
You're so young.
Well, I'm only 10.
She definitely looks older than 10. Look at that body.
Master!
Oh, what do you mean? Look at the body. What are you talking about like that, big man? Now, I'm with Magnus on this one. Never thought I'd say that. Ronnie talks about dying of old age before the care she has can be removed. Thankfully, Cleo and Jado come out to finally reunite with Ronnie. The group are told by Jado that Kyrus is trying to figure out a way to have eternal youth by using the crystal egg. The egg seems to be in the underground temple. With Ronnie's time running out, Orphen, Sephi and the simp head to the temple double time. After some of the more tedious puzzles I've had to deal with so far, the group finally reach the centre of the temple, finding it full of treasure along with a whole crystal egg. And that was easy. Never mind, more traps. Shock horror, I know. With the Skelly boys put back to rest, Orphen has a few questions for the dancer in the group. But before she can answer, they're interrupted by none other than Curious, who's giving off a much more evil vibe than when we met her in Zeus's playthrough. Orphen, being sick of her sass, hits her with one of the old 1-2s, but while doing so, knocks the egg out of her hands and it smashes to pieces. Oh, shit, I guess Ronnie's dead now. But at least we finally get some more animated scenes.
I was close. So close.
Sephi.
Yes?
Why did you really come to the island? Dancers don't dance the way you do, Sephi. Tell me.
Sephi?
I came to this island in search of a miracle. A miracle that would bring my true love back to life.
To life?
I wanted to use the egg to be with him again.
Trying to bring him back to life, huh?
Is that possible?
It's all starting to make sense now. Now heading back to the rest house, the group takes time to catch their breath. Seffi, beginning to feel remorse for tricking Orphen into helping her for her own gains, explains that she wasn't able to get over her lover's death, so she devoted herself to finding a way to revive him. I do kind of feel bad for her here, if I'm being honest. Leaving the house after taking a break and talking to everyone again, we link back up with Seffi, now more determined than ever to save Ronnie from her curse. But with a broken egg, it seems like it might be off the table now. Without much hope, the team remember they're in a game with a get-out-of-jail-free card called Time Travel. They decide to look for a piece of the egg that will let them travel back in time to before the egg was broken. I mean, I don't understand why you would need another piece. Don't they already have all the pieces that... But whatever, I guess. Heading to the Tower of Mercy, the place where they found the first piece of the egg, they travel back in time. And would you look at that? It worked! The egg is back together. But nothing is ever straightforward, I guess. And as Seffi, being a keen Kenny, sets off the barrier and splits Magnus from the rest of the group. With that, Magnus sets off to find a way to release his master and his woman, he wishes, from the trap. Making his way down the tower, Magnus finally gets to what he believes to be the switches to turn off the barrier. But once all four have been lowered, the room starts to fill with sand. Magnus is dragged underneath. Back with Orphen and Seffi, we see it's worked and they're finally free. Worried that he hasn't returned yet, the two go looking for the little simp. But not before Orphen calls him a bitch as usual.
Just when you think he's finally done a good job, he goes and gets lost.
Entering the room with the switches that is now filling with sand, we follow after Magnus, taking a different path. Shortly after, the two come across Magnus, passed out cold in the sand. Thankfully, I suppose, he wakes up, and the group continue on with the crystal egg in hand to save little Ronnie. Returning back to their time, they are shocked to find out a hooded old stranger. Oh my, turns out Rufus was alive all along. The game hitting you with the soap opera twists, like a left-right from Tyson, it's hard to be shocked anymore, honestly. Turns out Rufus isn't just alive, but working with Curus, and has been cursed to age just like Ronnie. Seffi overcome with shock from seeing her lost love alive, but also being an old man. Curus then hits us with the old school evil villain explaining her whole plan bit. Gotta love it. Rufus and Seffi have an emotional few words before Curus decides to interrupt them and go back on her word to Rufus that for helping her finally get the egg that she would let us live. Best believe it's boss time. The floor gives out and we meet with a boss that's similar to the one we met on the ship at the start of the game. Soon put away at a bit of an anticlimax if you ask me for a final boss. With Curus and the boss finally taken care of, we're able to get back the egg. Rufus and Seffi share a touching moment. Rufus says he's stayed out of contact because of the curse and was worried what Seffi would say if she saw him the way he is now. But she loves him all the same. With the reunion out of the way, the group return to Gaia's tomb to give the egg to Jado so she can finally release Ronnie from the curse. But one issue, she doesn't even know how to use the thing. Thankfully, Rufus joined us with returning to the tomb and tells us he knows how to break the curse. While he manages to save Ronnie from the aging curse, Rufus sacrifices himself. While passing away in his lover's arms, the pair share one final tearful goodbye.
Rufus, you knew, didn't you? You knew the crystal egg could only be used once before it shattered. Oh, you always did have to have things your way. Oh, Rufus.
Ah, Seffi, you understand me so well. All this time I never thought I would see you again. And now, finally, when we're together again, oh, how I wish things were different.
Oh, Rufus. Your eyes still sparkle as brightly now as they did when you were young. Oh, I'll never forget the precious time we spent together. I remember all of the wonderful stories you used to tell me and
I traveled the world and wasted the best years of my life searching for treasure. What a fool I was. All that time, the greatest treasure of all was right under my nose. You were my one true treasure, Seffi. Only you.
Rufus.
Seffi, I love you.
And just like that, we're free from Chaos Island once more. Just like with Zeus, Orphen remembers his goodbyes with the dancer. Seffi decides to stay on the island and tend to Rufus's grave till she can meet him in the afterlife. Bit of a bleak ending from her, if we've been honest. But before we leave, she also gives Orphen a pendant as a form of payment for finally reuniting her with her love. And with that, Sephi's story is complete. That's a pretty bleak ending compared to Zeus, but before we're able to think about it all too much, the cycle continues once again. The image of Ronnie hits us with the cryptic bullshit again, and we're brought back to the ship. Again. So it's time to finish this final playthrough with the flute-playing child, Ma. Now, while I don't remember much at all from the other stories or different paths you can take, before replaying the game for this review, the parts that I did remember all seem to be from Ma's story. And let me just say, they ain't the fond memories either, let me tell you. But we'll get to that. Once again, we have the crystal egg taunting us, saying, "Oh, you want to see the true ending? Best get your waders on because you're getting your ass back on the sinking ship." Somewhat fitting, if you ask me, for this sort of game. Orphen, understandingly disorientated, hits us with the "I've played these games before," and we make our way onto the deck for the last time. This time, with no other option, we link up with Cleo and Magnus, before we're interrupted yet again by, you guessed it, our favourite sea snake. Bada bing bada boom, the snake is no more, and we watch the same cutscene for the third and final time. Yet this time we're hit with a new scene. What the hell could this mean? We arrive back with our favourite arsehole sorcerer and Cleo. Then all of a sudden, the two hear music coming from the island.
Sounds like a flute.
Time to investigate. En route to the source of the music, the pair come across a door which Cleo breaks because she's illiterate and decides to pull a push door. Fabulous. Looking to redeem her mistake, she offers to go on ahead to find another path. As she's scaling the cliffs, she comes across our favourite storytelling device, a piece of the crystal egg. The dark night is turned into a beautiful sunrise, to where she's less concerned about how the music stopped and the time changed in an instant, and more interested in sharing the moment with Orphen. Not getting a reply from the charming sorcerer, she decides to continue on. She finds yet another piece of the crystal egg and is returned to her original time. After finally reaching the source of the music, she comes across a small boy, who she comes to learn is named Ma. He explains he's travelled to Chaos Island alone in search of a song that will lead him to his mother, as the song is the only thing he remembers about his mum. Cleo, being the selfless queen she is, decides immediately to help the lost child find his mother. Finally linking up with Orphen, she explains the situation with Ma and tells Orphen that they can't just leave them to be eaten by monsters. Our hero, heavy quotation marks around that, reluctantly agrees to help out. Scaling up the cliff, the party finds an opening that leads into the water-closed labyrinth. After opening the gate, Ma hears the music of his mother and enters a trance-like state. After coming to and slaying some monsters, Ma returns to following the music he believes to be linked to his mother. Once reaching the source of the music, they realise it's not his mother, but a huge musical organ that seems to be powered by the water of the labyrinth. After a quick battle, the cave starts to collapse in on itself, destroying the organ. Damn, that's a shame. That short 10-second music track isn't being played anymore. What will we do? Oh, never mind, it hits us with the remix and we decide to continue on looking for answers to where Ma's mum could be. While pressing on down the winding path, Cleo claims she's seen someone in the distance. Someone that looks an awful lot like Jano. But they wouldn't know that, as just like before, they don't seem to remember anything about the island or the people on it since the cycle restarted. Okay, I guess. Moving on, the gang is stumped by the path being washed out. Ma offers to go to a boulder off in the distance in order to make a bridge. I mean, you guys can jump like 20 foot in the air. I'm pretty sure you could clear that, but whatever. Onwards to another platforming section, I guess. Good job the platforming in this game is really good, otherwise this section would be horrible, right? After reaching the boulder, Ma pulls out his trusty flute and plays the only song he seems to know, and for whatever reason it makes a tree grow, which in turn knocks the boulder down the waterfall and creates a bridge for the pair waiting below. A multi-purpose song, you gotta love it. Returning to the group, they trudge on further into the island, not before hearing the same song yet again, this time coming from a tower off in the distance. Are you sick of this song yet? Because I was about 5 minutes into my story, but don't worry, you'll be hearing it a whole lot more before we're through. Finally returning to the familiar Gaia's tomb, we link back up with Magnus, as well as Vulcan and Dawn. I swear I forget these two are even in the game most of the time. After giving them their beatings, Ma and Cleo explain to Magnus their plan, to go to the tower playing his mother's song. Unfortunately, Magnus explains that they'll be unable to reach the tower without a ship, although they would be able to reach it in winter. Not knowing how to reach it without waiting for winter, Vulcan tells the group about the crystal egg, and that it can turn back time. Honestly, having this shit explained to me for the third time is just joyous. A part of me really wishes Orphen would remember something about his past on the island, but whatever, the group decides to go get the egg to be able to reach the tower. Dalton tells us to take the endless stairs, and that we'll find a piece of the egg there. Reaching the endless stairs, we do in fact see a piece of the egg off in the distance. But would you look at that, they were right. Reaching the egg piece, it does change the time, but only makes it nighttime. Not quite the winter the group needed, but before Orphen and Cleo can argue about it, Ma notices another piece off in the distance. Just how many pieces of this egg are there? Getting to the egg, the time changes yet again. It's not only dark, but pissing rain. Amazing! The group, annoyed and soaked through, decide to keep trying with their time-altering MacGuffin and look for more pieces of the egg. In the next area, we come to what seems to be the path to the volcano in the centre of the island. The island begins to shake, to which Orphen exclaims it could be caused by that musical organ being destroyed. The path then is covered with dust and fog. Ma, being unfazed by this, decides to go on and find a path for the group. Brave kid, that one. After dodging the boulders and making his way to the top of the maze, the pair rejoin him and continue ahead. Thankfully, and in one piece, the group notice a huge spire.
Maybe it has a shower I can use.
Oh, shut up.
I'm not sure that place has plumbing, Cleo, but we all love a dreamer, I guess. Heading into the spire, we are hit with an obvious boss stage camera pan. And also a complete crystal egg. Well, that was easy. But before long, the group are cornered by our next boss fight, a huge flying wyvern. Now, I remember having a huge issue with this boss as a kid, but this time around, he turned out to be a real pushover, thanks to our trusty Sword of Justice. Told you the spell kicks ass. After putting the wyvern out of commission and gaining a new spell, the gang grab the egg and we're treated to more animated scenes.
You look so happy.
I am. And it's all thanks to you and Orphen.
That's right, Mar. I don't know about Cleo, but you do owe me. Big time.
Wait a minute! Just what is that supposed to mean, huh?
Ah! Why am I always surrounded by the most annoying brats in the universe?
Hey, no fighting!
Again?
What?
From over there!
I want to go to that tower. Yes, I must go to that tower.
Back in Gaia's tomb, the group head to the rest house to look for Vulcan and Dawn, to ask about how to use the egg. Not being able to find them, the team meet in the tomb, to which Orphen has a plan to get Vulcan out of hiding with the use of a gold coin.
Oh! Who are you? What do you want? Didn't I tell you to stand up first and then talk?
After asking about the egg, they found out that they knew nothing about the egg, other than it's valuable. Oh great. I don't know if I can feel bad for Orphen necessarily, for constantly being tricked by the comic relief, but we move on. While arguing with Vulcan, Orphen is knocked on his ass and drops the egg, to which it sends him and our two party members to a different time. Continuing on, the group make their way to a frozen wasteland, to the Tower of Sound. Thankfully, the egg did work, and it's now winter, but unfortunately for us, it's more ice levels for us to deal with. Oh, the joys. At least Lucy is enjoying himself. After finally reaching the tower, the group use the egg to take themselves to a different time so they can lower the frozen drawbridge and enter the tower. Now I want to go on record by saying this tower is the absolute worst. First off, we have this audio puzzle where we have to use 4 of the 6 musical notes to open the way to the next floor. After a lot of trial and error, we reach the next puzzle. Well, this doesn't seem too hard. Oh, fuck me. It's one of those maze puzzles where you've got to follow the sound of the statue that actively runs away from you. I think they could have picked a less annoying sound. Anyway, once you get the frog statue, you're taken to the next path. Another sound memory game. I'll admit that memory ain't what it used to be, but after a few attempts, I made it through. Finally, we make our way to the room of the tower with Jado playing a musical organ. Jado explains she's trying to dispel a curse and save Chaos Island. I'm so lost trying to keep up with this plot, I swear. She turns out to be the creator of the large musical organ we destroyed earlier on. Ma asks the woman about the song of his mother. Jado seems to know something about it, but instead demands that we leave the island. The group, knowing she won't give up what she knows, decides to go to the other tower to look for answers. While making their way across to the other tower, it's winter again. Wait, didn't we just make it so it wasn't before we entered the tower? Trying to find consistency in this game, who do I think I am? Anyway, a pretty easy fight takes place and we reach the next tower, the Tower of Mercy. Hearing Ma's mother's song upstairs, the trio see Ronnie playing an organ and Curious. Turns out Jado is Curious's mother. What do you mean? That's her mother? Or whatever. Curious tells the three that Ronnie is her daughter and must keep playing the melody to keep the monster beneath the island asleep, otherwise Chaos Island will sink into the ocean. Obviously, not good. Ma, believing Curious to be his mother, plays her the melody. Shocked by this, Curious tells Ma that she isn't his mother and that they must leave the island immediately. Ma deciding that he must save Ronnie from having to play the melody that is keeping the monster asleep. And then a new animation plays.
I'm going to rebuild that music machine.
Are you sure? Do you know how?
But Ronnie, I have to save her. I don't know why, but something just keeps telling me I have to save her.
Ah, 'tis love, as beautiful as the ocean, yet mysterioso as the sky.
Mar, ready to go?
Yeah!
All right! I'm sorry! Let me go!
Returning to Gaia's tomb, we meet Jado, who tells us that Ronnie looks like she may die from exhaustion from playing the music. The group offer to help fix the musical organ with the use of the crystal egg. Jado, shaken by this, believes that they may actually be able to fix the music machine, being the only one left that knows how to use it. What about Rufus and every other fucker that's used the egg till this point? But whatever. I'm reading into this too much. Making it back to the watercourse labyrinth along with Jado, the group are attacked by flying monsters. Orphen tells Ma to take Jado to the music machine, the crystal egg, so she can finally fix it and save Ronnie. After one long-ass NPC escort section, everybody's favourite bit of gameplay I'm sure, we finally reach the musical organ. Jado begins to explain that her family has been cursed, that the women of their family are cursed to play the music to keep the monster asleep. Ma asks why it can't be a boy playing the music to keep the monsters at bay. Jado says that while a boy could do it, that they could only do it for a short time and it would cost them their life. While she fixes the music machine, it's too late. The beast is already free. Well, shit, so doomed, I guess. During the earthquakes, a path to the underground caves opens up, and the team decide to put a stop to the monster beneath the island. The three set off to stop the monster and the curse once and for all. As they leave, we learn that Ma is in fact Jado's grandson, making Curious his mother after all. Following the path, the group are brought into another booby-trapped series of caves. The toughest one so far in my opinion. But after making their way through the caves and shadowy tunnels, the party finally reaches what appears to be the foundations of the island, as well as the chamber of the beast. Apparently, the music resonates with the large stones in the centre of the room, which have been knocked out of sync. Ma decides it's up to him to realign the stones and harmonise them with the music once more to save Ronnie and keep the island from sinking. With all 4 stones in place, the demon starts to show itself. Big boss time. This weird cube thing at first seems to take no damage at all from whatever spell I use, but Ma takes this chance to play the music against the boss, which finally makes the monster weak to our attacks. Now this boss is a slog to get through. The clunky controls as well as the constantly moving weak point makes it a nightmare to get a clean hit on it. It doesn't help that Ma can only play the song for so long before passing out and the boss becomes invulnerable again. Once Ma awakes and plays the notes again, you are finally able to hit the boss once more. In a final ditch effort to see the demon away, Ma plays the song in its entirety, allowing Orphen to finally finish off the demon. But in doing so, Ma falls to his knees. We return to Gaia's tomb and are joined by Ma's grandmother, sister and mother, and get a pretty sad scene.
I finally found you. I've been looking for you for so long. Mother, why? Why did you leave me?
Not a day went by that I didn't cry myself to sleep, wondering what had become of you.
Mar? Ronnie, does this mean you're my sister? Are you okay?
I'm fine now. Thanks to you, little brother. We're gonna have so much fun together.
I always wanted a sister. I just couldn't bear to see you suffer anymore.
I'm so sorry, Mar. It was I who suggested you be sent from the island. Your mother was against the idea. I forced her to do it. We knew if you were to remain here that one day your music would cost you your life. I can't imagine how lonely you must have been. Forgive me.
It's okay, Grandma. I understand. I finally met my mother. And now I have a sister, too. It was my destiny.
Hey! Don't believe any of that silly destiny talk, kid.
Bro, Orphen, read the room, man. What is that emotion? And so yeah, Ma gives Orphen his flute and just straight up dies. What the fuck? And we just leave on a boat like the last two playthroughs. Cleo and Orphen are still upset for losing Ma. And before long, Orphen is brought to the same image of Ronnie for the final time. But this time we also see Zeus, Sephi and Ma. Ronnie explains that now that the three souls have fulfilled their destinies and gained something valuable from each, he now has the key to free everyone from the chains of eternity. It all comes full circle and Orphen realises that he's in a loop. Ronnie then tells him that the only way to release them from the cycle is to destroy Gaia. Being returned to Gaia's tomb, Orphen explains to Magnus and Cleo what he's learned from Ronnie about the cycle and the need to destroy Gaia to bring an end to the never-ending loop. By bringing Zeus's golden arrow, Sephi's pendant and Mars' flute together, they create the Triforce. I mean, a key that shows a map leading to the final antagonist, Gaia itself. Upon arriving to the tomb beneath the island, they find Gaia, which appears to be the egg from one of the opening cutscenes of the game. When Orphen approaches the machine, he's taken to the ship that was heading to Chaos Island. He sees himself and the 5 other members of the cast, as well as a floating dragon's eye. Launched back into Gaia's chamber, we're back with Cleo and Magnus, but also 3 dragon eyes. Orphen, in shock, learns that it's all been an illusion, finding out that the 3 companions we've had during our journey on Chaos Island were nothing but puppets being possessed by Gaia. Once they touched the Dragon's Eye, their memories were altered and were all compelled to travel to Chaos Island to play out Gaia's twisted scenarios for each of them. Ronnie explains that Gaia does this in order to feed off each of their emotions, needing these emotions to fuel itself. She continues to explain that Gaia was created by the Ancient Ones. Who they are, we never learn. But it turns out that this cycle of Gaia bringing people to the island in order to feed itself on their emotions has been going on for eons. Oh shit, that's a long time. Ronnie, sick of the cycle, even while being part of Gaia's system, goes against Gaia and her programming, to say it's time to end the suffering, and that Orphen must insert the Dragon's Eyes belonging to the sleeping 3 into Gaia, as only the ones the Dragon Eyes has given the fake memories to can do so. And with Orphen placing all 3 instead, it would overload the system, and they'll be able to face Gaia itself and free those trapped by it. It's now time for the big showdown with the true big bad, Gaia. Now at this point, I feel like the game probably realised that it had been going too easy on us with all the bosses. Gaia is definitely a final boss, because holy shit, this fight is a torture. He'll hit you with attacks that are too fast to react to,
actively block your attacks randomly and has way more health than any enemy we've faced so far. And just as you think you've gotten him down, he'll send a group of robots that fire projectiles and spin around so quickly you can't accurately hit them. All the while they attack you and stun lock you out of retaliating. This fight is a true trial of your patience. Half the time I felt I only got as far through the fight as I did through blind luck. Nothing about this fight feels intuitive or fair. He'll not block an attack just for him to hit you before you finish charging a spell, and then you'll only get 1 or 2 attacks in before sending another wave of these annoying as hell robots. You can take away his ability to block your attacks by attacking the shoulders of Gaia, but then he'll attack you with beams from his head and stomach. The fight alone took about 10 retries before I actually found a strategy that actually worked, but even then it just came down to blind luck if I took enough damage to finish the fight. With only the head left, Gaia sends that battalion of drones again and again, but with what little health I had left, I somehow managed to finish off the machine. With Gaia defeated, Ronnie asks Orphen to remove the Dragon Eyes from Gaia to put an end to the twisted stage play once and for all. But in doing so, Ronnie, being part of Gaia's system, falls to the ground in pain. Gaia explains that she is a fool for looking for freedom, and that she has doomed herself to the same fate as itself. Ronnie then switches between Jado and Curus, before transforming into her true form. After the sad farewell to the AI, the three wonder who could have been behind the creation of Gaia, before they decide to leave Chaos Island once and for all. As we leave, we see the trees on Chaos Island flourish, and we see our 3 heroes on the boat, sailing to their freedom. The scene ends with Orphen throwing one of the Dragon Eyes into the sea. Fade to black, and credits. We get some closure on the 3 trapped by Gaia. Sephi returns to being a dancer. Zeus is reunited with his real daughter. And we see Ma asleep on his mother's lap. And with that, the story of Orphen comes to a close. The end. Now, while playing through the story, I was just as confused as a lot of you might have been about how the hell Zeus's daughter's Ma's mother, and why Jado is an evil sorceress one minute, a worried grandmother the next, and also a dab-handed musical maintenance the next moment. All these plotlines being connected by some super evil robot in what ends up being some twisted simulation in the end, with what would have been a pretty cool plot development, but I feel the game just missed the mark in hitting the landing with it. While we do see glimpses of it through the animated scenes and such, as well as our own conversations with the AI Ronnie during the end of each playthrough, I just feel like it could have been implemented better into each of the stories by having more interaction between the rest of the cast as you're able to interact and chat with them during the rest house sections. They really only give surface level observations and don't really add to one another's story at all. It just seems like a missed opportunity in my opinion. Now, looking at each individual playthrough, Zeus has definitely got the happier ending out of the 3, because at least he got his daughter back in the end. I mean, I know she's fake, but damn man. Sephi had to watch her long lost lover she thought was dead die in her arms for real, and poor Ma eventually finding his mother and the rest of his family only to die there and then. Gaia really loves writing soap operas and hates children and women apparently. Thankfully it is just an illusion, because while I was playing I was trying to figure out how the hell each playthrough could be connected and was honestly giving me a headache. Going into each playthrough with Orphen, Magnus and Cleo being oblivious to Chaos Island and the Crystal Egg each time was a bit exhausting. Hearing the same plot points laid out to you for the second and especially the third time really drags the plot and pace of the game down. The difficulty of each playthrough is also quite different. I felt Zeus' story was the easiest of the 3, with Sephi's being not too bad outside of the annoying ice sections, especially with having the Sword of Justice after your first playthrough beaten. But Ma's story takes the cake for being the most rage-inducing between the puzzles and weird boss fights. It was easily the least enjoyable of the stories to play through, having to hear that damn song of his being played over and over and over again. And with that, why don't we finally talk about the gameplay of the game. In Orphen, the gameplay of each playthrough is split into 2 major parts. Making your way through Chaos Island, navigating puzzles, platforming sections, and making your way through the booby-trap ridden dungeons, and also battling monsters that inhabit the island. Each playthrough is very linear, going from place to place, trying to find pieces of the Crystal Egg in order to help each of the 3 characters to their objective. Zeus finding his daughter, Sephi paying respects to her fiancé, and Ma being reunited with who he believes to be his mother. The puzzles in Zeus's and Sephi's story are relatively simple, with many of the caves and dungeons not posing much of a challenge at all. It wasn't until Ma that I had begun to have issues with the puzzles and platforming. The movement controls in Orphen are horrendous. While controlling Orphen or any of the other casts, the movement feels sluggish and clunky, which only ends up being exacerbated by the camera. You can control the camera with the left and right shoulder buttons respectively, but when trying to move the camera it swings so quickly and abruptly that lining up the camera to make these already painfully broken jumps so much more difficult. Half the time I was failing these jumps was because I wasn't able to line up the jumps correctly, or because the camera is in such a weird angle that it's hard to gauge how close or far away the next platform is. While exploring Chaos Island, you can run into monsters, but unlike the other battles in the game that take you to battle screens, these are easily taken care of by pressing X or the square button to use Orphen's basic melee or ranged attacks. Many of these monsters you meet this way don't really pose any challenge at all, with their basic AI just running straight at you. As you can see, thrilling combat right here. While exploring, you'll find chests all over that contain items to help you on your quest to solve the mystery of Chaos Island. These can be incense, lanterns, chimes, or even new equipment for Zeus, Sephi, and Ma. But these items you find are completely useless in the grand scheme of things. Throughout all 3 playthroughs, I think I used 3 or 4 healing items. Many of the items do exactly the same thing. Incense and lanterns heal you, while the smelly bags and chimes either attract or stop monsters from meeting you in the island. While that may sound useful during battle, you can't even use them in the actual battle scenes. You can only use them while running around the island, which makes them only useful for half of the gameplay, and even with that you'll find yourself not using them unless you're really having trouble with the awful controls and platforming sections. Now, talking about the battles. The battles and bosses were one of the few things I remembered about the game. Being able to cast spells, summon elemental spirits, and slashing monsters with your magical sword seemed really cool to me when I was a kid. Child me had terrible taste apparently. When battling, you control one character, usually Orphen. You're able to switch your target by using the D-pad. While switching, you'll notice coloured symbols representing the enemy's weakness to that corresponding element: fire, ice, lightning, wind, and darkness. Each spell and attack will have an elemental stat that you can see while equipping any 3 spells or weapons you have in your inventory. You'd think that would open up the game to some strategy as to what spells and elements you should use for each fight, but the battles fall into 1 or 2 categories usually, being so easy that there's no point worrying about what elements you use, or being so bullshit that you get stun locked out of a fight, or hit with one of those elemental statuses the enemy has, and just have to sit there as the enemy whittles you down slowly. You can execute collaborative attacks with one of the other party members when you see this symbol on screen by following up their attacks with your own, but honestly it didn't even register with me when I could do that throughout most of my playthrough. As with the camera constantly moving and just the sheer amount of stuff on screen being thrown at you, the visibility and actual feedback you get from the game to pull off these attacks is non-existent. Half the time I'd be wanting to pull off one of the game's pretty cool elemental summons only to be stunned by the enemy I didn't even know was coming. Looking at you, squid. Getting hit by random bullshit happens so much that trying to charge up attacks and pull off the summons is actively discouraged. 9 times out of 10, just stun locking the enemy out of the fight by spamming projectile attacks and then taking them out one by one with your sword when you can is the best course of action. You can also hit environmental parts of the battles. These can be used to harm and stun enemies, or to heal your party. Some battle screens are just so cluttered that it's hard to keep track of where you're aiming most of the time. The boss fights are the one enjoyable aspect I found, as I described during the story, but even then become trivialized when you have stronger spells in your arsenal. I swear most of the time I was just waiting for the enemy to get close enough for Orphen to use his melee attack with the Sword of Justice to take the boss down with little to no effort, especially when you figure out each boss's gimmick in the fight. It's only really the last boss of Ma's story and the final boss Gaia that pose really any challenge, but the challenge doesn't come from interesting mechanics or strategy, it comes from the game's clunky controls and god-awful hitboxes. The amount of times I missed the weak spot of this thing just because once you start charging an attack, you're locked to that route, or with the bullshit stun lock of Gaia's drones. It just isn't fun or rewarding defeating them, you're just glad it's finally over. While the boss fights for the most part are okay as a spectacle, if you're having trouble, you're able to switch out your spells and equipment during a fight. and once you've selected what you want, the battle completely restarts. So even the worry of a game over for combat isn't really a factor, as you can just continuously reset the fight if you're being cheesed to death, or having too much trouble with a certain enemy, effectively trivializing one of the biggest parts of the game. Going back to the traps in the labyrinths and mazes, some of them are ridiculously easy to navigate, most leaving huge spaces, so they don't really pose much of a threat, they just seem to be there for window dressing. While others are so goddamn frustrating that they demand perfect timing, otherwise you're hit and stun locked to your death. That's another thing I found, was the inconsistency with how much damage everything does to you while you're making your way through the island. The pendulums and boulders in the caves can legitimately two-shot Orphen, while the boulders falling down from the volcano in Mars section barely hurt him at all. What the hell is this kid made of? Dying in the game, as I mentioned in the story playthrough, is brutal. You're sent straight back to the title screen and you've got to reload from your last save. So I hope you enjoyed these long, stiff and unskippable scenes, because if you're struggling with a fight or a puzzle, you'll be forced to watch them over and over and over and over again. Most puzzles just come down to trial and error, with little in the way of difficulty, just adding to pad out the game and slow you down rather than being any sort of fulfilling challenge that would get you thinking or feel rewarded for solving them in the first place. Looking at you, Tower of Sound, fuck this frog. Now, if the puzzles and clunky battles don't drive you insane, the sound in the game will, or lack thereof. The little music in the game is only really used in certain sections of the game, namely in Rest House, or in major plot sections of each character's playthrough. Most of the game, you'll be hearing this. The sound of these pendulums swimming haunts my dreams. The game just feels empty and barren. The lack of music or environmental sound at all, and just having these traps going off on a loop for most of the game was driving me crazy. The game just feels dead and lacking any sort of personality. It doesn't help that the few tracks that we do here aren't exactly anything you write home about. Oh my god, Ma, stop playing that song, I'm begging you. Some of you may have noticed the voice acting, and that some of the cast sound very familiar. And you'd be right, Orphen actually has a pretty stacked voicing cast, surprisingly, with Cleo being voiced by Jennifer Hale, Tara Strong as Ma, Lara Cody as Ronnie, Paul Eading as Rufus, Debbie Derryberry as Jado, Charlie Cox as Vulcan, and with Quinton Flynn being most well known as the voice of Raiden for the Metal Gear series, voicing Orphen himself. With a cast like this, you'd expect the voice acting in the game to be top tier and a big positive of the game. And while I'd be inclined to agree, the voice acting, well, let me show you.
It was my destiny.
Hey! Don't believe any of that silly destiny talk, kid. You're gonna be fine.
Please, look after this for me.
Your flute?
I think it should be with you now, Orphen.
What are you saying? You love that flute.
More!
Aww.
Yeah, it ain't the best. The delivery and mixing on the majority of the game just seems so disjointed, and the emotions the characters are trying to get across just don't translate very well. Which I don't think I can blame the voice actors for, as it's clear these actors are very talented from looking at their other work. The English dub in this game, more often than not, comes across as laughable. But if I'm being honest, these parts were the most fun I found in the game. From Orphen bullying Magnus and his arguments with Cleo. During my playthrough, I found these times where the cast were just talking to one another to be the most fun parts of the game. It's just a shame it wasn't always for positive reasons. While the voice acting can be disjointed and just laughably bad in some sections, there are parts where the cast are really giving their all, and it gives weight to the more emotional scenes in the game, like where Sephi is saying goodbye to Rufus, or Ma is reunited with his family just before he slips away. It's clear the cast were trying to do their best with what they were given, but these scenes are too few and far between for it to really save it. The animated scenes in the game are fantastic in my opinion, and I thought they were a big highlight for me in the game. It really just feels like you're watching a scene from a 90s anime the game is based around. But again, there isn't quite enough of them to really salvage the bad taste the game puts in your mouth. While the visuals of the opening and the animated scenes look awesome in my opinion, and really capture the 90s aesthetic that I love, the game's visuals themselves leave a lot to be desired. The textures and environments look so lifeless and ugly. The character models and animations are basic and stiff, with blocky textures and little to no actual animation during these scenes, where characters are interacting with one another. I mean, just look at Lucy. I know he's meant to be blue, but just being a solid block colour like that, I always thought the texture for him was bugged in the game. It wasn't until I saw him in the anime that I realised, oh no, he's meant to look like that. Having to trudge through the same bland environments during each of the 3 playthroughs with little to no music didn't really make me feel like I wanted to play through the game again after completing Zeus' story. Never mind for the second and third time with Sephi and Ma. The game following the same pattern from going from tower to tower, coming back to Gaia's tomb to chat with the characters, not really learning anything new about them, or having interesting conversations in the first place, made the whole thing just feel so repetitive. Don't worry, the irony of the plot using time travel as a major plot point being repetitive isn't lost on me. But it just doesn't motivate me to want to help these characters or want to see the true ending at all. I feel if the environments, sound and animations were just a bit more polished and varied, it would have given the game a better chance in feeling less of a chore, and a more enjoyable journey in the long run. The game doesn't really feature much at all in the variety of enemies either. Outside of the few cool boss models, they're just cookie cutter monster designs. Like, what the hell is this thing? Some being so nondescript, it's literally just a white tuft of smoke. It just makes the fight seem less interesting and detracts from the game. Now, all that being said, would I recommend you play Orphen, Scion of Sorcery? I think you can already feel the resounding no coming, and you'd be right. Even to die-hard fans of Orphen, if there even is any around anymore, I just couldn't recommend you play it. The game aging like gone off milk doesn't make it all that accessible or enjoyable to experience, especially when compared to other PS2 release titles at the time, like Timesplitters or Tekken Tag. Even at the time it was released, it was set up to be a dud. While I still hold it to a positive light, simply out of nostalgia and sentimentality, it's an absolute slog to get through. And the incoherent plot that is rug pulled beneath you at the very end in an attempt to tie it all together just feels like a cop-out. Outside of some funny moments at the cost of the voice actors' lines being badly mixed and implemented for most of the cast, Orphen just seems destined to stay in obscurity, and that honestly may be for the best. With this game being my first introduction to the world of anime, it's a wonder I stayed a fan in the first place. It just goes to show how much the experience we have growing up and deciding what media we want to consume, even at a young age, can decide what we end up enjoying and sticking with. Despite all the obvious flaws and issues I have with the game, I've had a copy in my collection for years now. I always seem to boot up my PS2 every few years to join Orphen and the gang on the ship to Chaos Island, looking to solve the mystery of the Crystal Egg and Gaia, all the while asking myself the question,
Damn! What the hell's going on around here?